My name is Kate Wild and we are filming from the Autism Treatment Center of America. I am a teacher here in the Sunrise program and very excited to share with you a kind of a recipe, some ideas and thoughts so that you at home with your children can create pre-planned games to take into the playroom with your children. So what are some things that you would be really useful for you to think about as you create games for your children? Well, first and foremost, when do you introduce them to your child? When you're in the room, what are the signs from your child that you can look for so that you can know that, yes, I can introduce my game. How exciting. All right, so here in the Sunrise program, we have a very particular timing to when we believe children are available and ready to play games with you to interact. All right, so when to introduce a game would be when your child is either looking at you, talking to you, or showing you some kind of physical indication that they're ready. So if your child is isming away and they're not looking at you and they're not involved with you, that would be a time when you don't introduce your game, but when you join in their activity. But let's say they stop their ism and they stop their game and they're not doing another activity and they come over to you and they look at you, or maybe they sit in your lap and give you a big hug, or they lean on your shoulder and therefore indicating that they're interested in you and they're not involved in another activity, that's the perfect time to introduce your game to them. So here are some thoughts on how to put a game together for your child that's really specifically designed for your child, because every single child on the autism spectrum is so different and they're interested in so many different things that you want to create a game that's really motivating for your child. So the first ingredient to put into this game recipe is to put in the game itself your child's motivation so that they would be more inclined to want to play this amazing game. So how do you know what your child's motivation is? Interesting. Okay, so you want to become a detective and really watch your child, because the things that are motivating your child are either what they show pleasure in, what they smile at, or it's something that they do a lot, that they spend a lot of their time doing. So for instance, some motivations are going to be really easy for you to see. If your child really likes it when you tickle them, they laugh and they smile and they show you again and again that they want you to tickle them, that is a motivation. Maybe they're showing you that they love it when you squeeze their feet and they keep giving you their feet or their hands again. Well, clearly, squeezing their feet or hands would be a great motivation. Maybe they like to jump on your back and ride around the room with them, and they love to be physically moved or spun around in circles with you. Well, then physical ride games, that would be a motivation for them. Maybe you notice that your child might not like any of the things that I mentioned, but they love and spend so much time dropping things in front of their eyes. Maybe they pick up lots of little pieces of paper that they rolled into little balls and they pick it up and they watch it fall. Maybe they watch pencils fall down. So watching things fall would be a motivation that is really enjoyable for them. Maybe your child likes to carry around a fork or a wooden spoon or a belt or a stuffed animal. Well then, because they spend so much time with this object, then you can say that belts or wooden spoons are your child's motivation. Maybe your child loves to talk and look at the Hoover or the vacuum, if you're American. And they like to talk about the washing machine or garbage trucks. Well then, washing machines would be your child's motivation, or garbage trucks or vehicles would be your child's motivation. If your child likes to spin things or talk about the ABC or write a lot of the ABC or numbers, the ABC or numbers would be your child's motivation. So if you look at things your child likes to do a lot, or things that they smile and laugh at, then these are clearly your child's motivation. So you can create a list of what your child really enjoys. The other thing you want to look at is your child will be motivated by certain things that you do. So let's say you notice that when you sing, la 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 la, you sing these lovely songs to them, that they look at you more and they smile and they want you to do it again. Then you singing is a motivation. Maybe when you make sound effects, bing, 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 these kind of sound effects, they laugh and they think it's funny. Well, then your sound effects are a motivation. Maybe you notice that when you do big movements and you put your arms in the air and you twirl around, or you pretend to fall over, and that you do things in a very silly slapstick kind of way, or you pretend to run in slow motion. That's really motivating for your child. So there are things that you will do that are motivations for your child that you want to look for and put into your game. There are things that they will spend a lot of time even by themselves doing. That would be a motivation. And there are things that they show you by laughing and giggling and wanting a lot. That is their motivation. Oh, one other thing. Characters can often be a motivation. So maybe your child likes Postman Pat. Maybe they like Superman. Maybe they like certain emblems on, car emblems and things like that. That's also a motivation. All right, so when you're creating a game, you want to get motivations into your game. That's number one. Very important. So the second ingredient in your recipe of the most perfect specific game for your child would be to think about what do you want them to learn in this game? What is your child's current goal? And here we want to encourage you to put the specific learning that's from the Sunrise Program developmental model, because we believe that the most effective thing to help your child grow and learn is their social interaction. So you want to think about, all right, so do I want to encourage my child to look at me more, to really enhance their eye contact? So maybe the goal is to start and continue an interaction. Maybe your child's goal is to listen to look as they're listening to somebody talk. Maybe it's to look at somebody when they're talking. All right, so there are different eye contact goals. Which one are you going to work on in the game? It's very important to become really clear with that. Maybe it's a flexibility goal. So maybe you want to encourage your child to want to play other people's games, or to physically or verbally participate in the game. That's a whole section also. Maybe you want to be clear on, okay, in this game, do I want to work on verbal communication? Do I want to help my child say one clear word? Or do I want to encourage my child to answer what and who and where questions? Also, is this game going to really help lengthening their attention span, or being able to play with different shared objects? So you want to be really clear, what is the goal you're working on? So that's going to be really important, all right? So you've got your motivations, then you've got the specific goal, and with the Sunrise Program attitude, you have all you need to create a game. It's as simple as that. So let's look at some different games so I can show you how you put those two together. And then a little bit later, we're going to talk about a particular attitude and thoughts to adopt while you're actually doing these games in the playroom with your lovely, beautiful child. One game that you can put together. Let's say your child's motivation is rides and feathers. All right, so I've got that motivation. And then the specific goal that I'm working on is to start and continue an interaction. So I really want to help my child look at me when they want me to start an interaction and to look at me if they want the interaction to continue, all right? Which is a really important thing to help our children do, all right? So, how do I put those together? So let me think. Okay, so I want to use feathers and use rides to encourage my child to look at me more. So how can I do that? Well, here's a thought. One thing you could do is you could sellotape feathers to your fingertips. Ooh, so you have feather nails. And when you're in a ride game with your child, so let's say your child wants to get on your back and wants you to ride around the room. All right, so you're riding around the room with your child, and then after you've given that motivation for a minute, maybe you put them down, and maybe they're indicating that they want to go on your back. So you might do something like this to get the feathers, put them around your eyes and say, hey, would you like to go on my back? Da, 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 da. So you're drawing attention to your eyes and to encourage your child to look at you. So once they look at you, say, now you're looking at me. I know you want to ride. So come on, hop on my back. And you give them a ride, da, 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 all around the room. And then they get off your back and you do the same thing. So in between, you're using the feathers and their motivation to really help them understand that it's really useful to look at people if you want something to happen and an interaction to happen with another person. So that's an example of how you put the two together. All right, here's another example of, let's say your child is really motivated by Postman Pat. They love Postman Pat. They're always talking about it. They're singing the song. They really enjoy it. All right, and you want to help them physically participate in a game, which is one of our flexibility goals. All right, so you want to encourage them actually to participate, not just to sit and watch. All right, so you've got Postman Pat and you've got physical participation. How do you put the two together? All right, so you could get Postman Pat's hat, or something that looks similar to Postman Pat hat. You can get a little stuffed animal like the black and white cat. All right, so you come into the room with these two motivating things, and you say, if once you notice your child stopped isming and they're available to you and they're not involved in an activity, then you think, I have a great idea. I have all these letters that Postman Pat has to deliver, and here, give the hat to your child and say, you're Postman Pat to get into a pretend car, da, 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 or you could pretend you're the car. So Postman Pat jumps onto your back. You can have a little sack with letters in, and you give him the sack, and then you go around the room. Maybe you get little stuffed animals and you put them in corners of the room, and they're the people you're delivering the mail to. So he has to actually make the car go. So the physical participation would be maybe putting the car into gear or steering the car, and then the physical participation, he would actually take the mail and give it to the stuffed animals and say howdy howdy to everybody as he goes by. So that's the physical participation of him actually participating in the game, and the motivation of all the fun different Postman Pat props that you could bring in to play with him. So those were two quick little ideas to show you how you could put the two together. However, we have over 60 different game ideas and video blogs on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and you just search autism treatment and go to the autism treatment YouTube channel, there are so many videos there that describe all sorts of different games that you can play with your children. So I invite you to go there to click on the different games and really enjoy them. Now, so those are some fish. We call them fish, right? Because those are actually game ideas for you. However, because you now know the recipe, you can create millions of games yourself, and that's the most important thing, because your child is very unique. I want to tell you there are 4 other ideas that I want to for you to think about as you're creating games. One is, and this I swear is the most important thing for you to think about when you're creating a game, and that is there are absolutely no bad games. Now, this is true. All right? So when you're creating a game, just think of me knowing that I would love your game. And because no game could be too silly or too simple for your child. In fact, the simpler the better. Because we're not thinking about, oh, we have to create some imaginative game that nobody has ever created before. We're not thinking about that. We just want to create a game that we think your child will enjoy. So if you think that there are no bad games, you will go into the room and you will be more excited to introduce your game because you think it's the most brilliant idea. And let me tell you, it is the most brilliant idea because it's not the game itself, it's what you think about the game. So if you could get totally and utterly behind your game and think it's the best game in the world, then it will be the best game in the world because you'll be excited. And children play our games because we're excited about them, because we think they are the best thing. So get behind your game, believe in your game, love your game. All right, I'm already excited about your game, so do write into us and tell us what games you create, because we love to share games with all our Sunrise community. All right, so that's one thing, there are no bad games. Now, when you're in the game and you're in the room with your child and your child is playing it, feel free to vary your game. All right, so this will help the game go longer. All right, so if you notice your child isn't as interested in the game and you feel a little stuck with this game, then just add one more thing to what you're doing. Doesn't have to be this rocket science thing, just add one more thing. So let's say if we go back to the feather game that we talked about, we put feathers up to our eyes. So you could vary that. Instead of putting feathers up to your eyes, you could get some face paint and you can draw things around your eyes. You could put on an animal mask and you could pretend to be an animal as you ride with your child around the room. So if you're thinking that you want to keep on with the game, your child's interested, but they might be a little not as interested as they were, just take one thing and add one thing to the game. Vary it for yourself. The third thing is be persistent. So let's say you introduce this game that you created to your child and your child says no, they don't want to play it. Don't give up. Bring it in the room the next day. And if they say no to that, bring it in the next day. Keep introducing your game because you've got to believe that one day they're going to play it. And sometimes it might take you 50 times of introducing this game for your child to want to play it. So don't give up on your game and don't give up on your child. Be persistent. Now, I just want to tell you one other thing. Creating your game and making your game should take no longer than 15 minutes. All right, so don't feel that you have to spend hours and hours creating all sorts of different things. The simpler, the better. Spend 15 minutes creating it and then take it in the room. All right, so I am excited for you to create games with your beautiful children. And come visit us at YouTube because we have so much more that we want to offer you in terms of creating games and being creative and playful and silly and dynamic in the room.